Hello, my name is Emanuel Cabeza. I work at the Fast Track team within Microsoft, and today I'm going to be talking about the domain authentication in Dynamics 365 marketing and the importance that this represents for email deliverability. To begin with, it's important to understand that there's three key concepts when it comes to email deliverability. DMARC, which stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance, is one of the protocols used, and it is primarily targeting organizations and the ability to control that their domain is properly used. So DMARC, think of it as the policy that allows you to define when certain servers or domains can send on your behalf. DKIM is kind of the counterpart to that in the sense that this is the domain keys identified email allow the receiver of those emails to understand if the email that they're receiving comes from a valid and trusted source by identifying the domain. DKIM is going to basically verify that that domain has complied with the policy, that the emails that are being received complies with the policies as specified in DMARC. And then finally, we have SPF, which is a complementary part of DMARC, in which it's also validating on behalf that receiver allows the receiver of the email to verify if the email that they're getting comes from a valid domain by verifying the submitted IP address. So while DKIM focuses on emails, SPF looks at IP addresses. How does that work eventually within Dynamics Marketing? So when you install Dynamics Marketing, you automatically get a validated domain, and it has a particular format which starts with a unique identifier specified for your organization, and then the suffix din365marketing.com. This is to allow from the very beginning and provisioning of the organization that you can still send emails upon a verified domain. However, this is not necessarily going to be the most efficient way to get deliverable emails, because your customers wouldn't be knowing that this is coming from you, because this is an unrecognized domain from the point of view of the users. So to increase deliverability, we are not going to be confusing our emails with phishing attack. We recommend that people use a sender address from a customer domain, something that identifies the company that's being sending this marketing communications, so that users and customers can understand that this is a valid and a legitimate email to receive. However, if I just changed the email address and you said I was sent up from a particular email, because the email is getting sent from marketing wouldn't be recognized by the receiver, they'll get a very low score from a deliverability perspective, as it's not authorized for a Microsoft service to send emails on behalf of a particular customer domain. We validate this by when you go into a particular email. If I were to specify a different form address, in this case I'm using mycustomer.com as a sender email address, this basically gives me a notification that says this is not an authenticated domain for my instance, and is going to cause lower deliverability. Dynamics Marketing will still try to deliver, but it's likely that it's going to cause some issues on the receiver end, and your emails are probably not going to get received. So how do we put all of those concepts together? So let's understand that Dynamics Marketing utilizes a DKIM only as a means to authenticate with the receiver domains. We are currently the SPF signature, which is specified in Dynamics Marketing, is from Dynamics domain. It is not for the customer's domain. This does not impact deliverability, as the SPF signature that identifies our servers is only visible in the email header. So you will need to go into the source of the email to even see that there's coming from the SPF authentication. However, the SPF validation is done so to ensure that the deliverability is high. We do plan to allow a feature in the future to allow you to define your own domains for SPF signatures as well. What we do today is to authenticate a domain. The domain owner needs to specify a DMARC policy that allows the DKIM keys that are from Dynamics Marketing to be able to send on their behalf. The next question is, how do we know which domain to authenticate? Dynamics Marketing supports the ability to enter multiple domains, authenticated domains that you can send them from within the same instance. So you can define as many domains as you need to, and you can also specify subdomains if that's what you prefer. However, when you're authenticating a domain, it's important to use the full domain address as it will appear in the return address. So taking emails, for example, at contoso.com, you need to identify the contoso.com. Equally, if you decide to use a subdomain, it would be the subdomain that needs to be authenticated. How do I authenticate the emails? Basically, I first need to go into the application, create a new domain record which generates Dynamics Dynamics Marketing is going to generate me the keys that I need to use. I need to use those keys, and then I'm going to be able to pick them up and put them into my DNS configuration by creating a new TXT record using the value of the ownership, and then create two CNAME records with a DKIM authentication keys. How does that look in practice?
Now in Dynamics Marketing, I'm going to be able to navigate to my settings area and go into my domain authentication. As indicated, I have an already authenticated domain, which is the one that comes out of the box. I now can add my custom domain, and once I define whether I can be using it for email sending or also for form hosting, more information on this is available online, and I'll then save it. When I do, it's going to generate for me the necessary ownership authentication key and necessary DKIM keys that I can use for confirming my DNS configuration. With this information, I'm going to go off and manage my DNS records. I'm going to pick up the value, and for my domain, icarasa.com, I'm going to create a new TXT record, which is what the Dynamics Marketing is going to look for when it's trying to confirm that I'm the owner of this domain. I then will also add a couple of CNAME records. First one is going to be using the key for the primary domain for DKIM authentication, and I'm going to add it as a CNAME alias and pick the value associated with that key. I'm going to repeat the process to establish the second key. This secondary key is really used as a backup should the first key fail to authenticate during a particular email marketing campaign. Once those changes are done, DNS will take some time to validate and propagate across the world. But what I'm going to be able to do is click on my confirmation button within the domain and see if that's actually completed. Once I do, I can see that it'll give me a notification that it's complete, and I need to refresh to understand how far along the process I am. At this point, it's showing as keys not found because it hasn't yet propagated, but it will shortly. After a few moments, I've been waiting for the confirmation to occur. When I click refresh, I can see that my domain is now confirmed, both from the ownership perspective and to be able to use on emails. What this allows me to now do is go into my emails, and if I wanted to send a particular email from any domain, let's say I wanted to try Emmanuel@somewhere.com, this will tell me that the from address is from an unauthenticated domain. However, if I wanted to now use the domain I have just validated and do the same check for errors, I can see that the warning goes away. This now concludes the demonstration and all the discussion around domain authentication. For further information, you can take a look at the documentation available on the website.